And we are live, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I call this Intergovernmental Legislative Relations Committee meeting to order. It is Wednesday, May 7th. First item on our agenda is the report from our state lobbyists, the summer interim committees.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. So last Monday, the Legislative Council Service met in Santa Fe, and they named the interim committee members. They also identified two new subcommittees. One, which is a mini DOGE subcommittee that's led by the whips of each caucus. And then they also are doing a federal funding subcommittee that's being chaired by Representative Patty Lundstrom. And so that's kind of interesting to me, but they named the members. So the process from here is that the interim committees will assemble, they'll start to put together their work plans, and then we'll get those work plans, we'll get those back to you all. I think one of the sort of challenges for us is how do we make better use of the interims to serve our interests, our desires. And so that's something that I'm certain I can do a better job, and I'm committed to doing a better job with you all to make sure we're taking advantage of every opportunity to advance the interests of the city. And then there's just so many other things going on that I see a lot of benefit for us participating. So I'll look forward to working with everyone on that stuff. And that was all I had, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Thompson? Okay, I think that's great that they're planning to move ahead, and I think that's good. Anyway, okay, let's go on to item agenda B, report from the federal lobbyist, Mr. O'Donnell.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you. I'm going to talk about three items that are very current in Washington: reconciliation, the administration's FY26 budget proposal, and the FY26 appropriations process. So with reconciliation, there is an effort to try and move ahead with the tax bill within the next week or two. Right now, three of the major topics being discussed are state and local taxes, the deduction for those, Medicare, and then not quite under the same area, but one thing that's come up through the House Natural Resources Committee is selling public lands. And that's part of the whole effort to energize the energy sector. So I said that within the next week or so, the House would like, the Ways and Means Committee would like to start marking up legislation. In addition to the SALT and Medicaid provisions, one of the things that concerns local governments is the tax exempt bonds issue, which when they did the tax bill back in 2017, they actually had elimination of the tax exempt status for municipal bonds. That was defeated then, and we're hoping a large coalition of local governments, some government finance officers, a number of interest groups are working to protect the continued use of tax exempt bonds. We did do a draft letter, which we sent to the city to send to the delegation. During the National League of Cities meetings, Councilor Grout and Councilor Rogers mentioned to all of the offices that they met with about the importance of tax exempt bonds to the city of Albuquerque. And one of the things, I think I may have mentioned this before, but the University of Chicago's Municipal Finance Center did an excellent study of tax exempt bonds that were issued by public entities by congressional districts. And we've provided that to the congressional delegation, and we sent those to the city so that we wanted to make sure the congressional delegation understands just how broadly they are used in New Mexico by local governments. The budget proposal just came out last week. It's depending on how you look at it, it's called a skinny budget. What it does is really eliminate a lot of federal programs. For example, and we sent this report that you have that highlights some of those programs that are proposed to be eliminated. I just quickly will tell you it's CDBG, home, state and local justice programs, the LIHEAP program, the Economic Development Administration, and Job Corps, to name a few. It's important to remember every administration, regardless of party, the president always has a budget, which in many ways is a messaging device. It really does not wind up, in most cases, many of the recommendations are not taken by Congress because Congress will determine what is going to be spent on federal programs. But in this drama of reconciliation and the administration's budget, it really is at this point Congress making a decision about where it wants to make these cuts, where it feels these cuts are most appropriate. But you have such close margins in the Senate and the House with members in the Republican Party who come from districts that are maybe not as conservative as some of their colleagues. So there's a great deal of concern about how in reconciliation the state and local taxes issue and Medicaid are treated, and the same with public lands. And then when it comes to the budget, there are quite a number of interest groups that have their favorite federal programs, and the local government interest groups really are big supporters of CDBG, home, state and local justice programs, LIHEAP, EDA, the Job Corps. So it remains to be seen how Congress is going to treat this bill and come up with their own version. The Senate Appropriations Chair, Susan Collins from Maine, said when she saw the president's budget that it was basically a non-starter and not a very good indication of where she and some of her colleagues on the Appropriations Committee stand in regard to these programs. And Senator Mitch McConnell, who is also on appropriations, no longer the majority leader, but he's on appropriations and he chairs defense. His reaction last week was, this is not a budget that's going to go anywhere. Congress will make its own decision. On appropriations, as you folks know, the collection of earmarks by the New Mexico delegation, that process has ended. The House hopes to have its bills marked up by the end of July. And the Senate has not said what its schedule is. The House usually goes first in that process, but as indicated by what I said about Senator Collins from Maine, there is some sentiment that they may never even get to marking up bills for FY26, that what they will wind up doing is simply reporting bills out of committee without a vote, out of subcommittee without a vote, and assume certain spending levels, and then go to conference with the House. The difference in bills will be that the House bill will be much more conservative, lower than the Senate, which will cause a problem that could lead to a continuing resolution for all of FY26. It's too early to say that's the path, but there are some people who follow the appropriations process quite closely here who are already predicting that there will not be a final FY26 bill. It'll be another continuing resolution. That again would eliminate earmarks from the FY26 budget. It is interesting that in most cases this year, many House members, rather than take new projects, simply reintroduced, sent back to the subcommittees their 15 appropriations requests that were included in bills in 2025. And this year, the Senate actually put limits on the number of requests that senators could make to subcommittees. And one of the reasons for that is I think the amount of requests that were being made by senators required so much staff work in their own office and in the appropriation subcommittees. And the difference between what they got from what they requested from subcommittees was so great. I think they decided this was a way to cut down on the workload. The other thing I would mention is that the surface transportation, that's highways, transit, and highway safety, that surface transportation reauthorization has started in the House and in the Senate. The House asked for recommendations from members by the end of last month. The Senate doesn't have such a deadline. Kyriakis and I have been in touch with the Senate offices. They simply have said if local governments in New Mexico have priorities in reauthorization for highways or transit or highway safety, that they should forward those to the two Senate offices. And I think that is the summary of my remarks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions for Mr. O'Donnell?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Minicucci?
yeah, and I just to remind Mr. O'Donnell, I think he's also going to mention a little bit about the beginning process for the reauthorization of the transportation bill.
Oh, Mr. Mancucci, that's what I was just mentioning about the Environment and Public Works and Transportation Infrastructure Bill or committees have actually reached out to members to say if you have proposals for surface transportation, highways or transit, that those delegation offices are interested in hearing from the city. I think what happens a lot of times with reauthorization of surface transportation is that cities sometimes rely on the national associations like NLC, the National Association of Regional Councils, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors to carry the specific legislative proposals and make those recommendations. I've sent a copy of what is it's a draft right now, but I believe it's going to be what is the final version of the National League of Cities, Conference of Mayors, NACO, NARC, MPOs, their recommendations for reauthorization. And I would say the main theme of this is what it's always been the last 20 years, and that is the local government associations trying to prevail on both authorizing committees to give more direct spending, especially of highway money, to local governments. And that is clearly seen in the proposal that they've made. Does that address your question, Mr. Minicucci?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for that thorough report. Let's go on to item agenda C, new congressional projects approval.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
yes, there's three parts to this. One is just the administration reviewing what they submitted. And I'll put that on the screen. Dave Parks is here, and we'll start with that. And I'll quickly go over what council did. And then we do have a request for the committee to concur to send forward a additional federal project request that was in addition to what we did in December, and I'll explain that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Parkinson. I think Mr. Parkinson's on.
Here it is.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And sorry, I'm not gonna be on camera. I'm just under the weather today. But I just wanted to hop on just to talk about this really fast. Yeah, what Thomas sharing is overall all of the different projects we submitted with by department project and the description. So there is roughly about 22 total. My count is correct. And we did submit to all 4 offices that touch the Albuquerque area. Obviously, Senate, statewide, but with the House, our 2 House members. We submitted a couple of new projects to Vasquez, but largely we resubmitted 7 requests for the from FY25 per what the Senate and House offices asked us for. So those are all included on here. And that just covers our end. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Minicucci?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can go ahead and I'll put up on the screen our log on that one there. Just have it up in a second here.
There
Share.
it is. Yep.
I'll stop share. Do you see it right now, or is it?
Yes, we can see it.
The Albuquerque congressional log. So this is the Albuquerque one. Basically, we submitted, first of all, we had to submit, I believe, one of the International Housing Stability site. Its number is the 3rd one down or 4th one down. That was a resubmittal. In that count, one of the it had been awarded funds in 25. It was the funds did not make it to the continuing resolution for 25. Representative Stansberry's office and Senator Heinrich's office both asked that it be resubmitted so that they could resubmit in it. So that most likely will go forward. The other funds right here, Shooting Range Park, we know the Gizmo building, which was not an official submittal to the council, but we helped fill out the form. It's from a nonprofit that's redoing the Gizmo building downtown. The Southwest Public Safety, but all these Southwest Public Safety Center, green stormwater, infrastructure by council in San Mateo. Councilor Heinrich's office did ask, after we submitted them, they did ask that we fill out the committee forms. So I'm assuming that there is a good chance that some of those might be submitted to the committees on that one. Again, the only new one we have this year, and that'll be our next subject, is the 301 San Mateo to purchase the old Walmart property on San Mateo and Zuni. That was just a last minute request from Councilor Rogers. That is not on the OC that was submitted that the council approved in December, that this committee forwarded to the council of council projects. So our next one, I'll take that down here and just give me a second here. I will bring that up. And OC, and bring it up here for you. And I think, are you able to see that? I want to make sure. I apologize. The OC.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this is an OC, and it just basically just announces from the council, from the IGR. Usually, who we have it from is sponsored by the IGR members who are the councilors. So I will reach out to the 3 of you this week to ask if you'd like to have your name on it. And it goes to the full council, and it just basically says we are adding the project on the purchase of that property at 301 San Mateo, which is the Walmart property, and that just is per our ordinance that we can add on after the December. We approve the final one in December for the year, but we do have to bring it to council for final approval. So, and usually these are added on after an application's been submitted for the purpose of that. For the applications, in this case, I think the application request came in a week before everything was due, and there wasn't time for a council meeting. I think with that, I guess the next step, Madam Chair, would be if the IGR's pleasure would be to concur to send this forward to council.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Minicucci. Members of the committee, what are your thoughts on this? Councilor Feeblecorn, Mr. Anderson?
Madam Chair, I guess I'm fine with moving it forward. I just think that we have to have deadlines, and at some point those deadlines have to mean something. And you know, I got my projects in on time. So I would say that I'm fine with moving this one forward, but in the future, Mr. Minicucci, I think if there's going to be something that's sent in late, we need to know that it's going in when it's going in, not now.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Madam
Mr.
Chair, you go ahead. You can go ahead, Madam Chair, if you had a follow-up to that.
I feel the same way as Councilor Feeblecorn. This is interesting to me, and didn't, yeah, I feel the same way. Deadlines are there for a reason. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I obviously will not, speak to council projects, but our EC, I believe the projects that we submitted all fall within our executive communication that we sent down in last fall. So I don't think we need to amend anything, but of course, I will not, of course, speak for council projects.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate that. Councilor Pena, do you have any comment?
Just similar to, thank you, Madam Chair, just similar to Councilor Fablecorn's comments.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, so we will do that. One thing we'll have to work out with our legal counsel is just how we can contact all of you without getting, I guess, the rolling log, or basically violating the Public Meetings Act. But I think if we can figure out that method, for sure, we will do that. That was one of the things on this back.
Councilor Fablecorn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's only 3 of us on this committee, so that is not a quorum, and I think that we could have been notified, and I think we should have been notified before this was submitted.
Madam Chair, we will do. I think we were just concerned that as to what's the committee is also under the Public Rules Act, so we didn't know as to if it is a quorum. We'll have to figure out if the quorum means the members of the committee or the members of the council. And again, I'm not trying to, I just want to just keep you all posted on that for sure. We're going to do all we can. I just wanted to let you know that's just what we have to work through.
So Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
Again, this is not something that we're voting on in this committee. This will be voted on by the full council. All I'm saying is that the members of this committee should have been given a heads up that this was happening. It wouldn't have been a quorum issue. And again, I shouldn't be learning about this today.
Yeah. I do feel the same. Do we need to vote on anything? Do we need to vote on taking this forward?
I think if you want, I don't know if you have to vote. I think if you can just kind of get a concurrence from the committee. I mean, if you want, we can call a roll call if you wish.
Okay, so do we want to move this forward would we report it out at our May 19 meeting? And then it would be voted on the 1st of June? Is that how that would work?
Yes, Madam Chair. We would, if you all would ask that we request a holdover, we could.
Okay, now we can do that. Okay.
Madam Chair, so are we taking a vote on it? Because I would prefer that it just be submitted to the council rather than us voting on it here today.
Okay, I would prefer that as well, actually. So we don't have to take a vote?
No, as long as there's kind of a general concurrence, nobody objects.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not vote on it then.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for this information. It's good to have. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, well that will, this meeting is adjourned then. We'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.